Chad Brendel, Bearcat Journal, here with Michael Young. Michael, how has the adjustment period been, getting used to Cincinnati and kind of settling in and then getting the season started?
It's been quick, way more quick than when I was an incoming freshman. But nevertheless, it's been great. This is probably the best transition I've ever had, period. Like I said, it's been quick, but the guys around here, I mean, they're great guys. They caught me up to speed pretty fast, from the coaching staff to the support staff to the players. They've, got me back on speed in no time.
What did you expect? Did you expect it to be tougher, or did you? Because I'm sure Coach Denbrock, told you what the culture was like here, but that's not something you know until you become a part of it, right?
Right. I wouldn't necessarily say I expected it to be challenging of any sort. I think I was just more excited and anxious, and I think it was more nervous than anything, just because I'm coming into a new culture. I didn't come in as a freshman and really get a chance to develop with the guys
right.
that are typically in your class and just on the team. So I think I was more nervous than anything. I didn't really expect it to be challenging, because I knew at the end of the day I was going to have to come in and work, whether I came here, another school, or whether I stayed at my previous school. It was just going to be work. So I didn't really look at it from that standpoint of the possibility of it being challenging. I think my concern was just getting here and gelling, because you always want that as a transfer. You never want to be the outlier of a team. Trust me, it's awkward. But I think that was more of my deal. I knew the football and everything else would kind of come to me, but just as far as gelling with the guys, I think that was more of my concern.
Was it more or less difficult because you walked into a room that, 70% of the room got flipped? So it wasn't necessarily a veteran, older, established room. How did that change the dynamic?
Honestly, I wouldn't necessarily say it changed anything. I think just from last year, I think we just had natural-born leaders in our room. So those guys kind of already, established the leadership role. So I just came in as basically a freshman, just kind of under their wings and just learning. Obviously giving them, little 1-2s and tips as an experienced guy myself. But as far as the leadership role, I mean, guys like Ja'Shawn Jackson, guys like Alec Pierce, hell, even Wyatt Fisher. I mean, those guys already kind of had that if to them, that persona, that aura to them. So I just kind of followed their lead. I mean, they're great guys. So, and I'm in this position I am now, so I don't think I did wrong by doing that.
You've generally been probably one of the smarter guys on the team, right? Through your life.
Yeah,
the reason I ask, where do you stack up with Alec Pierce?
I give Alec Pierce run for his money. He's an engineer, but he may think he can outsmart me just because I'm not an engineering major. I'm pretty sure I could do just as well as he can. But Alec is a really, really intelligent guy. He seamlessly made the transition from X to W and picked up on the fly. It took me some time, obviously, but I know, a lot of it now, but I still think I give him a run for his money. Give us a little quiz bowl or something. I'm pretty sure I come out on top. Don't tell him I said that, though.
What was your impression of once you got into camp and really got into the football stuff, of the talent level on this team?
You could sense it right away. We had OTAs before we went to camp. So we were out here, like this. I mean, we had shorts on, no helmets, but and we were doing team and 7-on-7, and you could just see it. You could sense it. It's like once I stepped out, I think the first day I stepped out here, guys were talking trash to me immediately. And at first I'm like, all right, yeah, guys talk, but they back it up. So it was like, oh, okay. But it's that confidence, and I think that confidence comes with preparation and obviously knowing your skill set. And those guys, they kind of let me know day one, look, we don't know what you had at Notre Dame, but it's different. But I like that because, it's competitive. I'm a competitive guy myself. I hate losing. I think I said that Saturday after the game. I hate losing. So to come into a program where guys are extremely competitive, guys work hard each and every day, blue-collar mentality, I loved it. I liked it a lot, but I knew we were going to be a good team because of it. But like you said, I mean, it's a lot of guys returning.
Yeah.
You don't have back-to-back 11-win seasons without it, you know what I mean?
But there is as a guy coming from Notre Dame, there's kind of a stigma with G5 or whatever they want to call it, right? But did it surprise you at all how much, not just, because I guess what people think really is G5, there's a really good G5 team. There's talent at the top of the roster,
Right.
but maybe not the depth.
Right.
Were you surprised not only at the high-end stuff, but you know, even the corners, perfect example, all the younger guys that, you know, freshmen, sophomores that have next?
Not really. Like I said, I think just because of the expectation, just from the outside world looking in, I think if you honestly kept up with Cincinnati football, you kept up with college football in general, you saw how well this team was doing, regardless of the quote-unquote conference they play in. Like I said, this conference has been better than what, the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC combined in like the last, 2-3 years?
Yeah.
So, I mean, trust me, I do my research.
Right.
It really didn't surprise me. Like I said before, I think I said in the earlier interview, like a lot of these guys, especially our DBs, especially our D linemen, and our linebacker core, they could play at any one of those, you know, quote-unquote Power 5 schools. That's just how talented it is. But I think that's a credit to the staff here, the culture that they created. You know, when you got a coach like that, when you got players like that, I mean, you can't beat that. So, yeah, it's disappointing.
Bruno, I mean, tell me about that relationship with Mike Denbrock and how it started, because you know, you've talked about it a little bit, but it goes back to high school, being the guy that recruited you at Notre Dame and your comfort level with him.
I mean, I think that relationship was everything as far as me coming here. Like I said, I've been knowing Denbrock since I was a 17-year-old kid. I'm 21 now. So, and even when I was at Notre Dame, whenever I did something, you know, good, I made a play, or, you know, I had a good game, or even it was just as far as just checking up, it was a relationship that we had in high school where it exceeded beyond football. Like, whenever he was recruiting me, it was never a pitch, you know what I mean? Like, ever. It was never really a pitch. It was always, how you doing? How's your family? How's school going? The grades looking good. Then it'll be, how's football? He would ask me a million questions before we even touch on football, before we even touch on Notre Dame or whatever the case may be. So, and just kind of him staying in touch over the past 3 years, I mean, that meant everything to me. So when I transferred, obviously, like I said, Cincinnati was high on my list to begin with. I was just hoping that they had room. But once I got into the portal, like I said, Denbrock reached out to me like immediately. And I mean, that was basically it. That was history she wrote. So.
How far along did you get into that recruiting process before you said, you know what, it's Cincinnati?
I think it took a while because obviously I was in the transfer portal. I didn't really know how it go. I didn't really know how it went. I was obviously told from other guys, you know, that transfer from Notre Dame or elsewhere, it's like high school all over again. But I also heard the flip side of, yes, like high school all over again, but doesn't mean every school from literally across the nation comes and contacts you. So I didn't really know what to expect. And two, yes, I had made, you know, a couple plays in Notre Dame. I had some notoriety in some form and some experience, but I still didn't know how it was going to go. So I waited a while, even though Cincinnati was at the top of my list through and through. I waited a while. I think I got in the transfer portal October, I want to say, and I made my decision in April. But I also told myself too at the same time, and I kind of discussed this with Coach Denbrock and Coach Fickle. They understood the situation that I was in. Obviously, I transferred to Notre Dame. I didn't want to go to another school instantly, no matter how good I felt, just off of instinct and just relationship. That I had to make the best decision for me. So they stuck with me. They even advised me, like, look, we understand you have this school contacting you, this school contacting you. Look, take your time. Like, when you feel that it's 100%, you let us know. We'll be here. We're not going to back off you. And I think just kind of them communicating that with me early, I think that will put it over the top. So I took my time with it. I went through the process. I, you know, talked to other schools and that nature. But still, at the end of the day, it was like, okay, I talked to you, but you got competition. And, like, I would let those other schools know, yes, interested, but Cincinnati is the front runner as far as I know. So
what a lot of people don't know, and I caught you while you snuck in here for an unofficial visit during was it a bowl practice or spring ball?
I think it was spring ball.
I think it was the first day of spring ball.
Correct.
And you kind of snuck in here unannounced. But did you really see what you needed to see that day, or at least, especially because what, 5-6 days later everything got shut down?
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest point for me, and I communicated that with like all the schools I talked to, especially Cincinnati. I told them first and foremost, whenever I go on my officials, I want to go to a school and see their spring ball. I don't want to come during official during January where it's off-season workouts, guys aren't doing much, because obviously you can get caught up in whatever the guys are doing, on the weekends, or whatever the coaches are selling you, when they don't have spring ball, and you can fall for it immediately. Like I said, I was a 17-year-old kid. I know how easy that can be. But I think that was the biggest thing for me, and having already take that official, I think in January I took the official at the end of January, and coming back for spring ball, I think that meant everything to me. And it worked out too, because I came and that was the start of Notre Dame's spring break. So we had started spring break for me Thursday, because my last class was Thursday. So I got here like Friday morning and hung out, and then Saturday I went to practice, hung with the guys a little bit, and then Sunday I was headed home to New Orleans. So that meant everything to me. But yeah, nobody knew that though.
I caught you. Getting out there, the first game, Austin Peay, just like a warm-up, basically, but getting a top 25 team in here, a physical Army team, and really leaving your mark on the game, was that like kind of your welcome to the Bearcats moment, where you're like, all right, we're gonna get there?
I wouldn't even say that, honestly. I never really. Honestly, it's tough because I'm trying to find the words. I'm almost speechless to a point. I never really thought of it as like a coming out party, or like I'm here to stay kind of thing. I think for me, I've always put the pressure on myself to do well. So whether I had produced a 10 versus Austin Peay, which we really didn't get the opportunity to because we ran the ball like crazy, which that was kind of the game plan. But whether I produced a lot versus Austin Peay the same way I produced versus Army, for me, it was never about a coming out party. It was for me just showing that what I can do, showing what I know I'm capable of. I think that's always in the back of my mind. It's never, for me, it's like, all right, I need to make my presence felt. I would love to make my presence felt because I'm a competitor, but sometimes you just don't get the opportunity. So I think for Army, for me to get the opportunity, I was just happy for that. And then after the game, everyone made it seem like this is a coming out party for this kid. Like, this kid is, we can look forward to this. But for me, it was just another day at the office. Like when I come out here and I tell the younger guys, like, it's just another day at the office for me. So, what's
the ceiling for this team?
There is no ceiling. Just like people say the sky's the limit, the sky really isn't the limit. There's space, right? So I don't see a ceiling for this team. I think you're going to constantly see us grow. However that may come, it comes. But you might have the blowout wins, you might not have a blowout win. You might win by the skin of your teeth, but we will grow. And growth is huge in this sport. So huge in this conference, because you play top tier talent, regardless of what Power 5 or G5, whatever they want to call it, whatever that means to most people. I just think this team is going to constantly grow. So there is no ceiling. But I'm excited to see where we are at the end, though. For sure.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
No problem.